Hello, welcome back to another video on You Ask, I Answer. I got an interesting question yesterday from Dr. Vanchila, John. Thanks for the good question. He was just curious to see what was some of the earliest crossover stories in Marvel. First and foremost, one of the things that irked me the most as far as buying comic books in the 90s, and one of the key reasons why I stopped buying books off the rack was the crossovers. I detested them. I felt that that was more of a gimmick strategy by Marvel and DC to force me into buying other titles in order to get the complete story. It's just one of those tactics that they use to get me to buy titles I don't want to buy. Even in titles that I collected, I just didn't care for the over complex stories. Some people love it. If you being an X-Men fan, you know, there are so many crossover titles, storylines with between the X-Men, the new X-Men, X-Factor, X-Force, you name it. There's so many. I collected all of them anyway, but that does not mean I care to read the convoluted stories. Not all part of the stories are bad, but I find that for most of the crossovers, the stories are overly complex and diluted. But that's just my view. I'm sure a lot of other X-Men fans would disagree. Well, back to the story. So, crossover was something that was very widely used in the 90s and today. Okay, that's very common now. But it's interesting because, if you read this book, I can't recommend this book enough. I brought this book out a year ago. It's a great book because it's a lot of interesting tidbit about this book. But when John asked me the question, one of the first thing that I emailed him back was, the link below as far as the historical timeline of all the crossovers. But I also mentioned to him, how time has changed since the 60s, and in this book, I don't know, just read a quick paragraph here. I'm guessing this is sometime in the mid 60s or late 60s because it's a paragraph from the chapter that deal with the change in 1968 and stuff. Goodman kept handing down decrees. There was a ban on rockets, ray guns, and robots of classic science fiction. The stories had to cease continuing from one issue to the next, lest new readers become confused by intricate storylines. You lose the very young kids who just can't follow the whole damn thing, Goodman complained. I read some stories sometime and I can't even understand them. No more cosmic sagas, no more cliffhangers. For the last year or two, Lee had conveyed to his writers that Marvel stories should have only the illusion of change, that the character should never evolve too much. And it went on and on. But, no doubt if you look at the link below, you will see that there are very few crossovers. And I had this conversation before with John about, multiple storylines. And, if you go back to the 60s, there are very few storylines that go 3 issues. No doubt one of the earliest, if not one of the greatest 3 issue storyline is Fantastic Four 48, 49, 50, where Galactus and the Silver Surfer were introduced. One of my all-time favorite 3-issue saga. And so, it's very rare to see, multiple issues, story arc in one title, let alone a crossover. But, one of the early crossover that I have, that I noticed right away when I bought this issue, were this one. It started out with Daredevil 37, continued to Daredevil 38. Here's my 2 copy. Lovely Gene Colan drawing. Gene Colan, I love the way Gene Colan drew Doctor Doom, even more so than Jack Kirby. I think, out of all the artists over the years that drew Doctor Doom, there's something about the way Gene Colan drew Doctor Doom that I absolutely love. So here's a 3-issue story arc that involved crossover, one of the earliest Marvel crossover. So you have Daredevil 37, 38, and then Fantastic Four 73. Okay, so that's it. That's answer the question as far as what is some of the earlier crossovers in the Marvel universe. These are pretty nice looking copies, so I will take the camera down to give you a close-up look on these 3 books, okay? And perhaps even give you the inside glimpse of the gorgeous art by both Colan and Kirby. Okay, so here is a close-up of the books. Love this cover. This is a beautiful copy. The biggest problem is, of course, the big, I'm sure you can see it, there's a big spine dent right there, and then there's a light little thumb crease right there. Okay, otherwise it's a beautiful copy. Beautiful white pages, look at that. Gene with the Dean, there you go. If you do not have this book, keep a lookout for it, because I think for any Gene Colan fan, I think it's a must-have book. It's such an awesome book. There you go. So that's a quick look inside. Okay, and then 38 is just incredible. I love 38 covers. This is a beautiful copy. The biggest problem is right here. Okay, you get like an inch long light creases right there. When you look at these 2 copies, they're probably in the 8.5 range, and I'm very happy owning Silver Age books that are in this condition. Well, sure, who doesn't want 9.8, but when you have Silver Age books that are 40, 50 years old that look like this for cheap, can't go wrong, right? So here's a beautiful, look at this awesome drawing of Gene on the splash page of, look at that, beautiful Doctor Doom. Like I said, I really like the way Gene draw Doctor Dooms. Gene is pretty good drawing metal armor. Thus I also love his rendition of Iron Man. So there you go. That's a quick glimpse of the inside of these 2 books, and last but not least is perhaps a nicer copy of the 3. Fantastic Four 73, and here's a gorgeous copy, perfectly centered. It's really beautiful. No doubt one of my nicer, if not the nicest, Silver Age Fantastic Four that I have. That's where the worst flaw of this book is, that little ding right there. This book is at least a 9.4. Beautiful white page. And inside you're blessed with Kirby and Joe Sinnott inking. I can't wait to someday do my inker spotlight on Joe Sinnott, because his inking with Jack Kirby is so gorgeous. So sharp, so crisp. Look at that. Night and day compared to Vince Coletta, that's for sure. And there you see the advertisement for Daredevil 38. And real quickly, see this? I mentioned this before in another video as far as the circulation data. So here you have the circulation data as of October 1967. So it basically dealt with late 1966 through mid 67, and it's pretty amazing to see how popular the Fantastic Four was. Look at this. Average previous 12 months. Look at that, 587,000. And look at the paid circulation. Look at that, 380 something thousand copy. Can you imagine how many was still around today, right? It's remarkable to see how popular these books were in the 60s. Amazing. Anyhow, thanks for watching.